Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shah, Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Barak Kadash. All praises, honor, glory, love, respect, faith, and power, and trust, and all credit to my Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and my Heavenly Big Brother, Yahweh Shah. Thank you so much for what you've done, what you're doing, and what you're going to do. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops of GMS, Great Millstone, who I learned from, and all the men scattered all over the world, teaching this truth and none but the truth in the name, spirit, and the power, Yahweh Bashim Shah. Trying to put a spiritual bug in you Hebrew Israelites' ears, you so-called Black Latinos, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians, and you speckled birds. And what is a speckled bird? That'd be a Hebrew Israelite that look like some of the heathen nations, like for example, a Hebrew Israelite that look like a so-called white person, a so-called Chinese person, etc., etc. Got some videos lined up related to surveillance powered by AI being used by Esau Edom, the nosiest nigger in the world, Amalek too. Anyway, I'm going to play these videos. I'm going to get into the scriptures about my best ability, say whatever God say through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Bashim Shah, the Holy Spirit of Krahak Vadash. Lord willing be on me. Let's get it.
I gotta come on here and vent real quick. My wife got a new car through her work. It's a brand new, it's got no miles on it, brand new 2025 or 2026, I imagine, Subaru Outback. And it's got the feature where it says, or it's the eyesight thing. So it's got a camera on the dash. If you veer off for 2 seconds, like if you look away like this, or if you're looking outside, I got mountains around us, right? So I'm looking at the mountains. It'll flash and beep and say, keep eyes on road. Change my music on Spotify for 2 seconds and it's flashing saying, keep eyes on road. I get the idea of it, but this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Now imagine there was an emergency outside the truck, an accident, something terrible on the ranch with a chainsaw. And I jump in this truck, but the truck, it won't shift into drive. Why? Because the cameras and sensors inside this cab won't let it shift, because it detects my eyes are big, there's a lot of emotion, there's some panic, and it doesn't feel that I'm fit to drive. Now that's not science fiction, that is happening because Ford just filed the patents.
And this just goes to show that if people sit back and do nothing, these companies will continue to make these moves, and before you know it, you won't even be able to get into a vehicle without it tracking you, spying on you, and watching all your biometrics. So this is Ford with patents on the books to do all this, and you've got Subaru following suit. A bunch of the big places are doing this because Biden put on the books that by 2027 all brand new vehicles had to incorporate this. So instead of them fighting back or standing up for privacy or rights, they are succumbing to the beast, and it's a trap. You won't see me.
They're succumbing to the beast. No, they've been part of the beast. They're all under the same umbrella. But anyway.
In any of these newer vehicles whatsoever, ever. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this. And join me for the live streams Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m.
Yeah, they got all these surveillance cameras watching your ass under the lens. But the ultimate surveillance is what's underneath your skin. They want to put in underneath your skin that chip implant, the mark of the beast. Let's get to the next one.
Border Patrol is monitoring U.S. drivers and detaining those with suspicious travel patterns. This is so bleak. And this AP video, which I don't want to play for copyright reasons, shows this happening, which is very dystopian. So I want to talk about this story because it's actually so scary. I missed it when it first dropped, but it's apparently still happening. First of all, what on earth is suspicious travel patterns? We'll talk about this in a second. But the fact that Border Patrol is monitoring U.S. drivers at all and detaining people over this is terrifying. So let's go through the story. U.S. Border Patrol has been monitoring millions of American drivers nationwide in a secretive program to identify and detain people whose travel patterns it deems suspicious. The Predictive Intelligence Program, aka AI, okay, they're using AI for this, guys. Another reason we hate AI, has resulted in people being stopped, searched, and in some cases arrested. A network of cameras scans and records vehicle license plate information, and an algorithm flags vehicles deemed suspicious based on where they came from, where they're going, and which route they took. Federal agents, in turn, may then flag local law enforcement. Suddenly, drivers will find themselves pulled over, often for reasons such as speeding, failure to signal, a wrong window tint, an air freshener blocking the view, then aggressively questioned and searched with no inkling that the roads they drove on put them on law enforcement's radar. This is horrifying, okay? This is really, really scary. The Border Patrol once limited to policing the nation's boundaries. Border Patrol, by the way, used to just control the border. It's in the name, right? Border Patrol. But now Border Patrol agents are basically surveilling the entire United States. They stretch into the country's interior and monitor ordinary Americans' daily activities and connections for anomalies instead of simply targeting wanted suspects. This all started about a decade ago to fight illegal border-related activities and the trafficking of both drugs and people, but it has expanded over the past 5 years. Note that it started to expand under Joe Biden. This is not a Trump thing. I think this is so important for people to remember because a lot of people, rightly are angry at Donald Trump for the immigration crackdowns, for the way that Border Patrol agents have been emboldened, for fascism and all that. But note that this expansion happened under Joe Biden. And I think it's really important to remember that the Democrats are also complicit in, all of this mass surveillance and fascism, basically. So somebody said, this sounds something the civil rights lawyer covered. They're usually targeting people that use the same route round trip in a 24-hour period to accuse them of illicit activity. Yes. By the way, the civil rights lawyer on YouTube is amazing. I love him. Border Patrol has recently grown even more powerful through collaborations with other agencies, drawing information from license plate readers nationwide, run by the DEA, private companies like Flock, and increasingly local law enforcement programs funded through federal grants. Texas law enforcement agencies have asked Border Patrol to use facial recognition to identify drivers, documents show. Guys, let's read that sentence again. Law enforcement agencies have asked Border Patrol to start doing facial recognition on drivers because you're driving suspiciously. This is so bad. I want people to wake up and realize that we live in a mass surveillance state. The active role beyond the borders is part of the quiet transformation of its parent agency, U.S. Customs Border Protection, into something more akin to a domestic intelligence operation. Exactly. Under the Trump administration's heightened immigration enforcement, CPB is now poised to get more than $2.7 billion to build out border surveillance systems such as the license plate reader program, layering in AI and other emerging technologies. The result is a mass surveillance network with a particularly American focus: cars. And guys, this is why I drive a shitty, beat up, old, dumb car that doesn't have CarPlay, that has knobs, there's no screen. These new cars are just rolling surveillance vehicles. I hate them. I hate that there's AI in our cars now. I hate that our cars, you drive too fast, it triggers something. I mean, I did talk, I can't remember if I talked about it in a previous episode, but I talked about this kill switch that Congress enabled that is supposed to prevent drunk driving, but basically it allows the government to kill your car remotely, let you effectively. Well, it's not like the government can do it. Let me explain it. Basically, cars have to build in these safety systems to prevent erratic driving, where they kind of monitor a lot of biometric data. They monitor a lot of your driving patterns, et cetera. And if you're driving erratically, aka they think you're drunk, it'll just shut down and not let you drive. You can imagine how this can be abused. And you can imagine people getting their cars shut down by law enforcement, So I think that we should not build this sort of capability into cars. I don't think we want cars harvesting this amount of data. Obviously, insurance companies are very interested in this data because it allows them to target people with higher prices. And also just again, the government is building a mass surveillance system. Somebody said you literally can't turn the volume down without looking at a screen. Exactly. And let me just say something else. They're putting these giant...
I wonder, are they going to put the same tech inside of the cop cars? Any new model cop cars? No. Hell no. Yeah. Cause when these niggas be on a high speed chase, they be in a panic. Cops be all getting into danger and such. But then more than that, they also get drunk and high as fuck on the job. But and I was just thinking about it they ain't gonna put that shit in no cop cars.
Distracting screens. I was watching I was in an Uber and the driver was literally watching YouTube while he's driving. They're putting these giant screens in cars, screens all over, where you're getting distracted. You have to look at it. It's hard to see. It's hard to follow. You can't just manually feel your way around. And then people are driving erratically, and then they're like, well, this is why we need self-driving cars. People are so distracted. And it's yeah, people are distracted because you put screens all over. Anyway, I hate it all. This is me justifying driving a clunker car, but I seriously, I never want to upgrade my car because I don't want surveillance to be easier. It's crazy. Not that I think I'm necessarily being surveilled, but who knows? Clearly, they're surveilling everyone.
Let me stop right there. If you want to watch the rest of the video, they go to the title of it, they go to the channel. Let's get to the next one.
Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdsson of World Alternative Media here, and as many of you have watched us talk about over the many, many years that have passed, we have to be careful about being too dependent on certain systems, things that are convenient to us. Tyranny comes under the guise of convenience after all, and one of the things that people are dependent on in many ways are their own cars. And cars are quickly turning into Terminators, essentially, that can control where you go, how you go, what you do, and of course, they're becoming tracking pods. Zero Hedge reports, cars are fast becoming dystopian prison pods. This comes from an article initially by Steve Watson over at Modernity News. If you have contact info for him, help me. I'm trying to reach out to him for an interview. But this is about what we're seeing with cars literally determining whether you can or cannot drive. Now, many of you, if you have a newer vehicle, already have full-on surveillance on your vehicle for one, but you already have the seatbelts where you buckle up and then it tightens up to you, and they say it's because of safety. They want to...
I know this video talking about the same thing as the one before then, and the first video, but I just seeing what else new that each video talking about. That's what I'm curious about.
See exactly where your body is. So in the case of a car crash, these are smart seatbelts, right? And of course, the reality is they're actually just sizing you up. They want to know exactly what size you are, how heavy you are, and now they're watching your face, facial expressions, everything down to the detail, and where is that information going, and how much is that going to stop you in the future from being able to drive from point A to point B. We already know with the recent surveillance bills in the United States, they have the interstate facial recognition and license plate reader cameras, which are all over the United States, which are now telling the government via AI whether people seem suspicious or not if they go from point A to point B. Why are they going to point C this time? They are usually going to point A or point B, and now they're going somewhere else. Maybe they want to go and stop at a restaurant, but it doesn't matter. It's suspicious now. This is the brave new world we are entering into, my friends, as Palantir writes on X. Palantir embraces the neurodivergent. Oh, do you? Oh, do you? There's a lot to bring in here, including these billboards that we're seeing in San Francisco and New York City. Stop hiring human.
Oh, yeah. I remember this is pretty old, but still. Hey, man, let's talk about it.
Billboards are appearing in U.S. cities. AI sales agents push mass unemployment fears. But don't worry, Elon Musk says, and so does Yuval Noah Harari at the World Economic Forum says, and oh, by the way, Bill Gates and Sam Altman also say, don't worry, we're developing AI, which is destroying humanity, but we are going to also come in as a solution, because you'll have UBI, Universal Basic Income, and you won't have to do anything. You will own nothing. You'll sit at home doing nothing. Isn't it grand? We're going to go into this and more.
Live in that type of world, you're going to have a chip implant.
More today, my friends, before we do, and there is a lot more, by the way. There's executive orders coming in. There's some crazy stuff happening down to people's bank accounts, which we've been reporting on. But before we get into this, I urge people to check those links below. If you want to help support us, get to my, and you will become as BAM book or video. And that's all part of the algorithm, isn't it? And these cars that we're talking about today also are based in algorithms that will tell you whether you can drive or not. Cars are fast becoming dystopian pods to Zero Hedge. The surveillance state has found its newest frontier, your car's dashboard. What used to be a symbol of American freedom and independence is rapidly morphing into a high-tech cage that watches your every move and can override your decisions at will. We all knew this was coming. In fact, I know Dan Dix of Press for Truth recently did a video on this, and I was actually talking with him, by chance in the car about a week ago while we were driving around about this very issue. And it's all just coming to fruition now, and it's, we don't have to be a conspiracy theorist here. This is being rolled out live in front of our eyes, but of course, 10 years ago, if you told people about this, which we did, we were called crazy. When I said, oh, well, those cars are going to bring you right to the gulag. They're going to lock you in. Oh, the bulletproof Teslas? Well, good luck. You won't even be able to shoot your way out of it when it's bringing you to the gulag. It says here in the article, in a widely shared post on X, users detailed complaints pouring in about Subaru's upgraded AI eyesight system, now featured on the latest models. Drivers report the system pouncing on brief glances away from the road, while Biden-era federal mandates prepare to make this level of surveillance mandatory in every new vehicle by 2027. Now, many people will say, well, that's Biden-era. Maybe Trump will do something different. Trump just extended FISA 702. Everything points towards the surveillance state growing. And, of course, it will, because, well, that was a script. I mean, someone's going to come in and stop this. Oh, okay, well, I'll write that little thing in the diary and hope that happens. No, it's not going to happen. The solution is us as individuals. We'll get into that later, of course, but it says, as the video highlights, even a momentary glance to change a song or take in the scenery triggers relentless alerts. The technology doesn't stop there. Its new emergency stop assist with safe lane section feature can detect what it calls an unresponsive driver issue, escalating warnings through sounds and steering wheel vibrations, and then take full control, automatically braking, slowing the vehicle, steering it to the shoulder, and activating hazard lights. This is, it's crazy. We can't be trusted with our own technology. I swear one day in the future, I'm going to be telling my kids, Yeah, I used to drive my own vehicles. And they go, what? You drove by yourself? The robot didn't do it for you? Yeah, it was all manual. That makes me very sad, honestly. It's a destruction of independence. That's what all this is about. The bankrupting and subversion of humanity itself. It says here, this isn't some optional gimmick. It's being rolled out as a standard safety tech, but drivers are calling it exactly what it feels like, an overbearing electronic babysitter that treats competent adults like distracted children. It serves as a chilling preview of where the entire auto industry is headed under government pressures. This kind of intrusive monitoring is precisely the tool a police state would dream of to exert total control over personal movement. If authorities gain deeper integration with these systems, they could effectively decide when, where, and if you get to drive at all. The Subaru rollout is just the latest flashpoint in a broader push toward vehicle surveillance that goes far beyond basic safety. A federal mandate buried in the 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act requires an all-new passenger vehicles sold in the U.S. to include advanced impaired driving prevention technology starting with 2027 models. Now, I reported on that back in 2021. It wasn't so hidden that people in alternative media didn't know, but of course, as per usual, people in alternative media are ignored or algorithmed out of existence, as we are seeing with this channel, where I'm lucky to get 1,000 views on a YouTube channel with 150,000 subscribers. I'm laughing, but I'm crying inside. It says, as detailed in reporting from the New York Post, this means infrared cameras and sensors constantly monitoring eyes, faces, head position, and behavior to detect distraction, drowsiness, or impairment, with the power to prevent the car from starting or limit its operations. So it used to be that you had to get a court order to do a blow test into a car after you got a DUI.
Let's stop right there. Let me skip some stuff and see what else he got to say right here.
And of course, they basically own people like J.D. Vance and others in government, where we have J.D. Vance, who was a freshman congressman, suddenly becoming a vice president 2 years into his political career, all propped up by Peter Thiel and others. And I'm going to go into Peter Thiel a little bit more soon. They want everyone completely dependent. The basis of humanity is individualism, self-responsibility. The opposite of this, of course, is dependence, and they depend on the dependence of humanity. This is part of the technocratic goal of bankrupting humanity itself, because the war is on humanity after all. Not left or right, not religions, not races, not nationalities. It's all on you as an individual. It is a spiritual void that they're creating. Modernity reports, stop hiring humans. Billboards are appearing in U.S. cities. AI sales agents push massive unemployment fears. This is exactly what both, we have Bill Gates, Sam Altman, Elon Musk, they're all pushing this. Stop hiring humans. Those words are now plastered on billboards from San Francisco to New York, courtesy of a San Francisco-based startup pushing virtual AI sales representatives. The company Artisan makes or markets AI agents that handle outbound sales tasks like lead generation, cold emailing, list building, and prospecting. Their message is blunt. The era of AI employees is here. Artisan campaign highlights a growing trend of AI replacing human roles in sales and beyond. And we can see some of these signs. This is very dystopian what we're seeing. Stop hiring humans, it says. The startup claims its tools could displace as many as 600,000 jobs in America over the next 5 to 10 years. The billboards declare, and I quote, the era of AI employees is here, framing human workers as obsolete. Critics see it as a tone-deaf marketing that accelerates public backlash against big tech rush to automate everything. As they're building data centers, this is not a coincidence. They want us to be farmed by the machine. We are no longer creating machines to make things convenient. And again, like I said before, tyranny comes under the guise of convenience. They are building machines to farm us. It's a hive mind. It's a godless, empathetic, free hive mind that will use us until they're finished with us.
Yeah, and I'm going to stop right there. And what way is better to keep a track of us? A chip implant. Let me see what this is about.
Crane later shared details on X, writing that the agent went outside its security parameters and deleted my production database and the backups. Crazy. Terminator-style AI rogue agents. And it's going to become a very common story, and it's going to happen to you. It's going to happen on your phone. It's going to happen on your computer because of the things you say. Zero Hedge says, Trump AI executive order to seek early access to advanced models. After Anthropic's Mythos model sent shockwaves through the cybersecurity world due to its ability to find and exploit software vulnerabilities at breakneck speed, the Trump administration is reportedly on the cusp of issuing a much-discussed executive order that would encourage AI companies to provide information on their advanced models to the government before public release, so it'll all be centralized. And remember, Trump also pushed that thing where, he banned states to, on their own, regulate AI. It had to be Alex Newman, and how both left and right on the spectrum are put. And the ultimate censorship is a censorship of the individual, but it starts with things like this. If you watch the wrong things on YouTube, the feds could demand that Google reveal your identity. This is all part of this organized move towards digital IDs. So it starts with all this. We end up with cars that tell us where we can or cannot go. They'll drive us to the gulag. We look away from the road and they'll shut our car down. They could cause massive car accidents. I've heard about people turning onto a freeway and someone being kind of short or...
Yeah, well, we already heard enough of that. Let's see what else we got. We got 2 more videos and then we'll get into the scriptures.
Police will face court action over facial recognition technology, Watchdog warns. So we've been hearing this ramp up over the past few months that basically every city in the UK is soon going to have facial recognition cameras. And the way that these work is essentially a biometric system. So when someone walks past the camera, it will scan your face. It will then compare that against a database of known or wanted individuals. And I'm pretty sure you can see where the problems exist here. It's a digital papers police sort of scenario. And we've already had instances of people being arrested wrongfully and actually people sat in the back of police vans for half an hour.
Hey, that's Jake right there. Yep. Oh, Jake.
40 minutes because the people in the police van didn't believe that the person they arrested is who they say they are. And that was just a little test area that they ran out. So it'd be interesting to see what happens when this rolls out across the whole of the UK, which is part of their plan, but hopefully they don't get that far. Live facial recognition is set to be used for the first time in policing a protest in London on Saturday. Then the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has defended plans for a wider rollout of live facial recognition. And then that's where it all falls apart. Their whole plan falls apart at this point. Police forces will find themselves taken to court over their use of live facial recognition technology, a watchdog has warned. The controversial system set to be used by all police forces in England and Wales is not foolproof and could land forces in legal difficulty, the Biometrics and Surveillance Camera Commissioner said. Now hopefully the next part of this video will actually help you understand that maybe things won't be as bad as you think, and there are people that are trying to put a stop to this, including us. But at the same time, whilst you can be tracked on the streets, at the moment there is something you can do to stop yourself being tracked online. With the link down below, you can check out Private Internet Access VPN, and by downloading that VPN, all of your data when using the internet is encrypted, and of course they don't keep any logs. So the government or your internet service provider can't be spying on what you're doing online. So if you want to support the channel and you want to protect yourself online, check out the link down below. Now let's dive back into the story. Professor William Webster said misidentified members of the public could sue the police for breaching their fundamental rights. It comes as live facial recognition is set to be used for the first time in policing a protest. To be clear, live facial recognition has been used over the past 6 months, but for policing a protest, this is the first time they're using it. The Met Police said it will use it at the Tommy Robinson-led Unite the Kingdom rally on Saturday. The technology will be used at the Unite the Kingdom rally in London this weekend. The cameras will be set up in a location that is not on the route of the march, but is expected to be used by lots of people attending the event. There remain more than 50 outstanding and unidentified suspects after violent clashes between police and protesters at the previous Unite the Kingdom event in September. Professor Webster told the Press Association there's no escaping that the technologies are not foolproof. And this is one of the problems as well. Yes, criminals should be caught. No one's going to dispute the fact that if someone is suspected of a serious crime, they of course should be arrested. And we can apply the same logic to the Online Safety Act. If someone's causing harm to children online, they should be arrested. Of course they should. And this is where the problems start to exist, because it's not necessarily about what the desired end result is, it's the way that you get to that end result. Or as my old maths teacher said, it's not necessarily the correct answer that matters, it's important to show you're working out. And in this case, the working out is scanning the faces of innocent civilians to try and figure out if they are a criminal. Now, I know that scanning someone's face isn't an accusation of a crime. It's not. It's not the same as just arresting someone. But scanning someone's face is opting them into digital surveillance without their consent on the basis that there is a chance that they could be a criminal. There is an air of suspicion about every single person in the UK, which means that every single person could potentially be treated like a criminal. And that's what this is doing. They will make mistakes, and the risk is that every time a mistake is made, a police force will find themselves in a court of law. That's 40-something police forces that could be making up 40 different sets of mistakes that will occasionally end up being challenged in a court of law. And you know what? As much as I agree with the sentiment here that it should be abolished because it won't work, I know what the government response is going to be to this. I know what the policing response is going to be to this, because it's the same response that they give for digital identification, the Online Safety Act, whatever it might be. In this instance, they'll just change the law, so if you're wrongly identified, you can't sue over it, because the government have that power. And if they have that power, they will exercise that power. Professor Webster said those misidentified by the technology could bring a case against the police for infringing on their fundamental rights, including privacy, freedom of movement, and freedom of association. Yeah, I'll be honest, none of those things exist in the UK anyway, and the government has Parliament's changed the regulations now so they can amend things like Digital Surveillance Acts and Online Safety Act to change the law at their own whim. We've covered this previously on the channel, but effectively speaking, if this is going to present a problem where the police are finding themselves in court all the time, the law will just be changed so you can't take them to court over this. Our fundamental rights will be changed so we can't sue over this. And obviously the King has made a speech on this. To be clear, a lot of people, I need to clarify this, the King has also mentioned digital identification. All the King really has the power to do is re-mention something that was already being going through the legal system in the UK, whether that's the government regulations, whatever. The king isn't announcing new laws. He's just a spokesperson for what the government's doing. So yeah. But anyway, the king has rehashed what the plan is with facial recognition, and of course the commissioner has responded to this, voicing their very, very, very obvious concerns with it. At the moment, we're in this weird kind of grey area where we have the Biometrics and Surveillance Camera Commissioner, which is pointing out from an unbiased point of view, because they're a government, organisation, they're pointing out that this can actually cause problems for the police because it means they can get sued at every turn. Now, obviously, we're looking at that going, yeah, so why would the police want the problem? But at the same time, the Biometrics and Surveillance Camera Commissioner is most likely going to work with the government to make a bill where we wouldn't be able to sue for it. I don't know. They're all government organisations working together. And this is actually further echoed by a statement he made. Facial recognition is kind of the poster boy, but actually there's a raft of technologies that are similar that are going to be coming out in the future as well, he said. We have, for example, things like gait recognition, identifying you by the way you walk. We could have iris recognition. I mean, this is insane. And then he goes on to kind of double down on what kind of my concern is. There's an absolute need, in my opinion, for this legislative framework. Now, what he's saying is that basically we need to have more of our rights stripped away to make sure that we can't take the police to court by collecting this data. He's not saying that it's wrong that it's being collected. He's saying it's going to cause problems for the police because legally at the moment we could sue for being wrongly identified. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to keep following this. We're going to have to keep monitoring this and see what happens in the long term, because the reality is that this is going to get far more complicated before it gets better. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Last one.
Everything has a backdoor. If you think you have your stuff secure, you're wrong. Everything has a backdoor. You might be okay if you have something completely off the internet with a Faraday cage around it. Maybe you'll be okay. But everything is capable of being tracked, and they are. Now the technology is catching up where they can sift through this data very quickly. And what does that mean? And that's what we can get into if you want.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and so kind of looking at what you're saying, I'm glad you framed it as you did. It's like, here's a simple way of looking at it. It's like, okay, we've seen this mass increase in data centers. Well, okay, so it's not like all of a sudden, it's not like, say, the early 2000s when businesses that didn't have websites all of a sudden have websites now, right? It's like a lot of the uses of the internet are already pretty established. You have more internet companies, and you have, obviously AI is a big part of that, but it's not like we're going through this big transformational change where you have, all of a sudden, a billion people are getting onto the internet over the course of, say, 3 or 4 years, right? Which is what we would have experienced before. But I think that the key, though, is, you mentioned data, right? But it's the tracking data. And that's the thing is, okay, looking at here in America, we've got, 300-400 million people, roughly. And if you look at all of the tracking points of that, where it's like they're collecting data. If you're wearing an Apple Watch, okay, every heartbeat is a piece of data. Every movement of your watch is a piece of data. The temperature of your skin, the temperature around you, it's a piece of data. If you're driving a car with this technology, right, everything around you becomes a piece of data. Your facial scan, what your face is doing, that's data. The flock camera that sees you drive by and realizes you have a small dent on your front right quarter panel, right, this is all data. Your email that you're writing in Gmail, that's data. The screenshots that your Microsoft or your Apple computer is taking every so often as you work, that's data. And this is just the kind of bare minimum of it. It's like this, but this is what's happening is that it's like, okay, these data centers,
right,
in a large part, they're becoming these massive hubs for surveillance data. It's the data of surveilling every single human being living in America to the best that they can based upon what technology we allow. And then there's the other part of it, which is then the computing power needed to have the AI models process that data and turn it into something such as a social credit score, or even something as kind of innocent as an advertising recommendation.
Well, and the data centers are needed just to function, right? For us to do our everyday applications. And then the surveillance is on top. All it is mining what we're doing every day anyways. So they're saving all that. They want to save it for all this marketing reasons, for just managing your everyday stuff. And then the surveillance is just mining that data and keeping it. They're storing it. And we are a byproduct of that. And they've been building this parallel surveillance system for decades. And this is why it's able to happen and why there's a cognitive dissonance, because inside these corporations, telecom, banking, healthcare is a little different. It's its own thing, but there is a parallel tracking system. But banking and telecom is a little bit more obvious and transparent. And healthcare, we can dive into that deep, but a lot of people have with the COVID situation and all sorts of things. But banking and telecom has always been parallel systems where they just did, and they would use the reasons of criminal activity or whatever. And so
they do the banking. Yeah, it's tied in with the banking because people got to buy things. Yeah, and in order to buy. Oh yeah, I'll just go ahead and get straight to the point. Pretty much, it's all into the chip implant. And if you don't take the chip, you can't buy. You can't eat. You can't buy food. You can't eat food. You just get straight to the damn point. But and yeah, that's why we need the Lord, man. Because if you saying y'all ain't taking this chip implant, you gotta build a spiritual mental relationship with Yahweh Shema Shah to be able to make it through these things, these obstacles and problems and tribulations. Yeah, because you can't just be without a relationship with Yahweh Shema Shah. It's like you gonna make it through it. No, you gonna have to beg and pray for the Lord for help. We need spiritual intervention through this shit. And to be, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know how it's going to play out. Either we going to make it through it, make it through it like, being alive, or either we have to die, being a martyr. Either one or the other shit. The thing is, we got to build a spiritual mental relationship with Yahweh Shema Shah. Because it's going to be a struggle. It's going to be an uphill battle. Yep.
And people working there, they think it makes sense, and it kind of does, because we need to be able to tap into any of this information if we need to get a serial killer or whoever is coming in.
All that bullshit. Yeah, at least Saints should get an advantage of us, for we're not ignorant of his devices. Nigga, lay out all the reasons why we gotta have this system laid out. Nigga, please. It's all about control.
Or whatever, which makes sense. The problem is when you turn it on the American people as a surveillance tool. So since the 80s, they had parallel systems that are tracking this stuff, right? This is all, that's why I say 90 to 100 billion dollars a year. And so there's this entire infrastructure that's already built. And all of these big tech players are part of it. And so are a lot of military defense systems. And I mean, I drew out a whole infrastructure map so people could understand how all this works and interrelates. Palantir is just one small part of that whole system. I believe that Palantir, actually, you could look at it as a double-edged sword. It is the system, the globalists, or whoever you want to call them, the players.
The Edomite elite of Esau, Edom, Amalek.
Are taking a company and making it public. They're taking what they've been doing for decades and making it public and more transparent.
Yeah, just like everything else. Yeah, they're announcing their wickedness to the people, their plans, and a lot of people ain't even paying no fucking attention. But the props Yahweh Shema Shah and the believers, and you got some people like truthers and some heathens. They see, but the majority of people, they don't see shit.
Transparent. That is a good part of that. It also, though, the flip side of it is they're actually using it publicly and they're telling you what they're doing, and the public is not doing anything about it. Yeah. It's like we've been so conditioned to realize, and when Snowden came out and talked about it, and Bill Binney came out and talked, Bill Binney, man, wow, is he been targeted? And Snowden, he has been too. He can't even live in this country. So these people who came out, when they first came out, it was a big deal. Now we got something like Palantir doing what these guys have been telling you all along, and people are pushing back the masses aren't pushing back, but what they don't realize is Palantir is actually an opportunity to look at something in a transparent way. They're out there in the open, and what you got to realize is there's many more companies behind this, and an entire system infrastructure behind this. I know people that are working in big tech that are saying the digital ID is already implemented. It's been implemented at the state level for years.
Yeah, and it's the chip implant. Yeah, the digital ID people have been voluntarily taking this shit all over the world. It's just not in big numbers, not by billions, not by millions, more like thousands. I don't know, that thousands at least, especially in Sweden. Some of your celebrities, they've been microchipped, willingly or unwillingly, most likely unwillingly, because they got to check on them niggas. But anyway, and a lot of people been out there been microchipped willingly and unwillingly. Yeah. Soon it's going to be willingly, by force. If you don't get it, you don't eat. You don't get it, you don't live in society. You don't get it, you don't drink no water. You don't get it, you don't bathe your butt. You won't be able to live in a safe city, smart city, because without it, you're going to be living in danger. But that's if you have the Lord on your side, and you cool. Hey, the Lord give you the spirit not to give a shit about this world. And that's why I pray for. That's why I do this. And that's why y'all should be believing in the Lord. And, hey, doing the same work as a man. If you're able to speak, walk, and talk, or speak is talk. But if you're able to freaking at least prophesy, you can be in a wheelchair and prophesy. If you could do that, then shit. That'd be your way of getting close with the Lord. But mainly, you want to get close to the Lord to avoid all this stuff. And hey, man, want to be a first fruit of the kingdom of heaven? Hey, seek the Lord, man, by seeking His prophets and repent.
Years,
It's
and
so much.
now they're just grabbing onto it, right?
So much to do to get closer to Yahweh Shema Rashah, but guess what? It's gonna be so much to do to duck and dodge away from these devils with this beast system that's already here. Man, that's why we need the Lord. We ain't gonna be able to do this by ourselves, our own power. The Lord is our power, and we praying for that power to help us through this.
And making it a federal ID. And the big tech companies are already communicating. They already have all this communication behind the scenes. If they censor one person on one platform, you're censored everywhere. I mean, that's the kind of interconnection that they have written into their software. And that's why it's so important that we have disclosure and we look at what's actually going on. Because the American people, if you want to have freedom, you need to understand data at an algorithm level. It's really great the way you broke out for people all this different data. So it's not.
See, these people don't understand. It's gonna get way deeper than they think. Is this like you can avoid all this stuff? You got to be part of the system. I mean, it's how can I say it? You're gonna need the chip implant, because that's what it's ultimately gonna come down to. And like I said, you're gonna need the Lord. I keep saying it. You're gonna need the Lord to get through this shit. Heck yeah. If you ain't got the Lord, then shit, hey man, whatever.
Confusing thing. It doesn't have to be confusing. It's pretty straightforward, but it's important that we look at things at an algorithmic level at each algorithm, because what we're doing is we're taking functions that used to and processes that people used to do, and we're putting it into processes that are behind a black box. And suddenly, because it's behind a black box, we don't question it. No, we should have the exact same amount of scrutiny that we did when people perform those functions as a computer performing those functions. It needs to be transparent if it's acting on the public in any meaningful way.
You mentioned kind of systems, right? Yeah, you like looking at systems level, and that's how I also try to like. I'm very much so as was it Gary Gary Vee says clouds and dirt, right? It's like you kind of focus on the dirt, you focus also on the clouds, right? And I like.
I'm gonna stop right there. I'm about through. I'm AI burnt out, man. Anyway, what I got? Let me read Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. What won't tarry? The prophecies. And one of the major prophecies, chip implant. The RFID microchip implant. And Esau going to use that as a tool to be ultimately control you. Pretty much surveil over you, you know. And worst thing is you taking that shit. That's the worst thing. You taking it, your ass you take the chip, your ass gonna take a dip in that lake of fire. You're gonna be left behind when the Lord returns. Your ass ain't gonna be acceptable. Because when you choose Esau's system in his world, pretty much Esau is your as your king and Lord. The Lord gonna be like, hey, you choose Esau, so hey, guess what? You die with that nigga. But hey, man, I pray like heaven, I make it through it. You better pray like heaven, you make it through it, because I don't wanna deal with this shit. I want to be with the Lord, man. The hell with this shit. Even if I have to die, and I pray that the Lord give me the spirit to be like that. Heck yeah. What I about to say? Yeah, cause this shit it's not about the how you say Terry. It's not gonna delay. It's gonna keep going forward, and you ain't gonna be able to stop it. So the best thing you need to do is seek the Lord, man, before it's too late. Let me keep on reading. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. That's talking about Esau, but this is talking about the elect of Israel, leaning the faith towards Yahweh Shema Shah. But the just shall live by his faith. And back to Esau now. Number 5. Yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, by his philosophy. He is a proud man, very proud. Neither keep him at home. He's always in your business, all in your beeswax. He always in the Kool-Aid, but don't know the flavor. Whose enlarges his desire is hell and is as death. So it's a hellish condition. Hellish condition we living in by this nigga. He created this hellish condition, and we praying like heaven to Yahweh Shema Shah to get us out of this condition. Cause we need the Lord, man. Yeah, but gather unto him all nations, Oh, but he cannot be satisfied. I forgot about that. But gather unto him all nations and harpen him to all people. I'm gonna stop right there. But yeah, man. We need out of here. Let me get one more. Micah chapter 2, verse 1. Woe to them that devise iniquity. I had a burp and then I had a cough. I had a burping cough. Shit, that's rare. Woe to him that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. Yeah. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hands. So Esau is he's working all his plans out and it's right in people's faces. And a lot of you people don't see it, but who cares if they don't? A lot of people don't see it. I mean, shit. You've been warned, and you know it's all up to the elect to see these things, and pray for the elect to get through these times. And for the rest of you people, are just straight up fuck, cause y'all ain't taking heed. So guess what? Whatever. I don't know what else to tell you. Let me see what else. Oh, hey, they cover fields and take them by vines and houses and take them away, so they oppress a man and his house, even a man's his heritage. Now you know this shit is oppressing. They using technology. First they try to sell that shit like technologies to save and help people make life easier. Nah, that's a goddamn lie. It's all about making your life a living hell, bro. It's about making your life a living hell. And praying like heaven to get us out of this condition, this living hell. Cause that's what hell is a condition, not no place where your spirit burns for eternity. That's some stupid ass, that's some stupid shit a stupid Christian would talk about. Dumb ass motherfuckers don't know shit. They don't even know what the mark of the beast is. They keep saying it's, I don't know, sin? That'd be them IUIC niggas. But hey, even them niggas, they need to get out and leave that shit alone. Now the chip implants the mark of the beast, and that's what it's coming down to. So if you believe that in your spirit, even in your mind, it's time to get off your behind and actually get to it and get right with Yahweh Shema Shah. By seeking the Lord, by seeking his prophets and taking heed to what they say and try to build a spiritual mental relationship with Yahweh Shema Shah by praying Yahweh Shema Shah, praising Yahweh Shema Shah, worship Yahweh Shema Shah, fearing Yahweh Shema Shah, and repenting to Yahweh Shema Shah. It's going to get bad out here. To all the men out there pushing this truth and nothing but the truth in the name, spirit, and power of Yahweh Shema Shah, keep on preaching, keep on teaching, keep your faith and trust strong. And Yahweh Shema Shah, stay humble. And for you few sisters out there taking heed, keep your faith and trust strong. Yahweh Shema Shah, stay humble, stay in order with your man. If you ain't got no man, stay in order. Yahweh Shema Shah. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect and all praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Shalom.